8 politicians, 8 scandals, 8 levels. Most channels won't touch this topic. We're going there. These are the 8 most disturbing things US politicians actually did. We're starting with fraud and ending with something you won't be able to unsee. This isn't speculation. Every entry is documented. Court records, convictions, confessions. Some of these people are still alive. Some never faced consequences. This is the most disturbing things US politicians actually did. Iceberg. Let's start at the surface. Level 1. George Santos. In November 2022, George Santos was elected to represent New York's 3rd Congressional District. Within weeks, journalists began unraveling his campaign biography. Almost nothing was true. Santos claimed he graduated from Baruch College. He didn't. He said he worked for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. Neither company had records of him. He claimed his mother died in the September 11th attacks.
Santos once claimed his mom was in the Twin Towers on 9/11. According to immigration records, she wasn't even in the United States.
She was alive and in Brazil that day. He said his grandparents fled the Holocaust. They were Brazilian Catholics.
I'm Jewish.
Santos fabricated a charity called Friends of Pets United, claiming it rescued animals. The organization didn't exist. He took money from donors who thought they were helping sick pets. In May 2023, federal prosecutors charged him with 13 counts, including wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of public funds. The indictment revealed he used campaign donations as a personal bank account. He withdrew cash at ATMs, paid for OnlyFans subscriptions, and bought designer goods at Ferragamo. Investigators discovered Santos had stolen donor identities and charged their credit cards without permission. He reported these fraudulent charges as legitimate campaign contributions to the Federal Election Commission. The House of Representatives expelled Santos in December 2023, making him only the 6th member ever expelled and the first without a conviction or Confederate ties.
Unofficially already no longer a member of Congress.
In February 2024, Santos pleaded guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. The judge sentenced him to 7 years in federal prison.
Pleading guilty is a step I never imagined.
What makes Santos disturbing isn't just the fraud, it's the shamelessness. He lied about everything, got elected anyway, and showed no remorse until facing prison. Level 2. Rod Blagojevich. On December 9, 2008, FBI agents arrested Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich at his Chicago home. Federal prosecutors accused him of attempting to sell Barack Obama's vacant Senate seat to the highest bidder. Obama had just won the presidency, leaving his Senate seat empty. Under Illinois law, the governor had sole authority to appoint a replacement. The FBI had been wiretapping Blagojevich's phones for months as part of a corruption investigation. The recordings captured him openly discussing what he could get in exchange for the appointment. On one call, he said the Senate seat was a fucking valuable thing. You just don't give it away for nothing.
I've got this thing, and it's golden.
Blagojevich considered multiple schemes. He wanted a high-paying job for himself, either as Secretary of Health and Human Services in Obama's cabinet or as head of a nonprofit organization. He discussed appointing someone in exchange for campaign contributions. He talked about appointing himself to the Senate seat, then using that position to run for president in 2016. The recordings also revealed other corruption. Blagojevich threatened to withhold state assistance to the Tribune Company unless the newspaper fired editorial writers who criticized him. He attempted to leverage his authority over a children's hospital, suggesting state funding depended on a campaign contribution from the hospital's chief executive officer.
Your baby can't have health care.
The Illinois House of Representatives impeached Blagojevich in January 2009. The state Senate voted unanimously to remove him from office. He became the first Illinois governor in history to be impeached and removed. In June 2011, a federal jury convicted Blagojevich on 17 counts of corruption. The judge sentenced him to 14 years in federal prison, one of the longest sentences ever given to a politician for corruption. Blagojevich served 8 years before President Trump commuted his sentence in February 2020.
Rod, you're fired.
He walked out still claiming innocence, insisting his conversations were just politics as usual. The wiretaps revealed a man who saw government power purely as a tool for personal enrichment. He treated a Senate seat like merchandise. Every decision had a price tag. Level 3. Bob Menendez. In September 2023, FBI agents raided the New Jersey home of Senator Bob Menendez. What they found looked like a movie set. Over $480,000 in cash stuffed in envelopes, closets, and clothing. 13 gold bars worth over $100,000. A Mercedes-Benz convertible, all allegedly bribes.
FBI agents found gold bars and $480,000 in cash stuffed, hidden in the couple's home.
Federal prosecutors charged Menendez with acting as a foreign agent for Egypt while serving as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, one of the most powerful positions in Congress for shaping U.S. foreign policy. The indictment detailed a years-long scheme. New Jersey businessmen Wise Aziz, Jose Uribe, and Fred Dybes allegedly funneled bribes to Menendez in exchange for political favors. Menendez used his position to benefit the Egyptian government, sharing sensitive, non-public information and pressuring U.S. officials to approve military aid and weapons sales. Prosecutors alleged Menendez ghostwrote a letter for Egypt, edited it to Egypt's specifications, then sent it on official Senate letterhead to other U.S. officials to influence policy. He allegedly disrupted a federal prosecution of Dybes by pressuring the New Jersey Attorney General's office. The gold bars were particularly damning. Investigators traced their serial numbers back to Dybes. The cash was hidden throughout the house, including in jackets bearing Menendez's name. This wasn't Menendez's first corruption trial. In 2015, he was indicted on separate bribery charges involving a Florida ophthalmologist. That trial ended in a hung jury in 2017, and prosecutors dropped the case. The second time, the evidence was overwhelming. In July 2024, a federal jury convicted Menendez on all 16 counts, including bribery, extortion, wire fraud, obstruction of justice, and acting as a foreign agent. Menendez resigned from the Senate in August 2024 after the conviction. In January 2025, a federal judge sentenced him to 11 years in prison. What makes Menendez disturbing is the betrayal of national security. He didn't just take bribes for personal favors. He allegedly sold out American foreign policy interests to a foreign government while chairing the committee responsible for overseeing those exact relationships. Level 4. Anthony Weiner. Anthony Weiner was a rising Democratic congressman from New York, married to Huma Abedin, a top aide to Hillary Clinton. In May 2011, a photo appeared on his Twitter account showing a man's underwear-clad groin sent to a college student in Seattle. Weiner initially claimed his account was hacked.
The answer is I did not send that tweet. My system was hacked. I was pranked.
The lie collapsed within days. He admitted to sending inappropriate messages and photos to multiple women online while married.
I did these things, and how sorry I...
He resigned from Congress in June 2011. In 2013, Weiner attempted a political comeback, running for New York City mayor. During the campaign, more explicit messages surfaced under the alias Carlos Danger. He finished 5th in the Democratic primary. The pattern continued. In 2016, additional messages became public, including exchanges with a woman, while his young son was visible in one photo. Then, investigators discovered something far worse. The FBI found that Weiner had been exchanging explicit messages with a 15-year-old girl in North Carolina. The messages included graphic content and requests for inappropriate photos. Weiner knew she was underage. She had told him her age. Federal prosecutors charged Weiner with transferring obscene material to a minor. In May 2017, he pleaded guilty in federal court. During the hearing, Weiner admitted he had a sickness, but knew his conduct was wrong. The judge sentenced him to 21 months in federal prison. Weiner served 15 months before his release in 2019. He is now a registered sex offender, required to report his address and status for the rest of his life. The case had unexpected political consequences. During the investigation into Weiner's laptop, FBI agents discovered emails related to Hillary Clinton's private server. FBI Director James Comey's decision to reopen the Clinton email investigation 11 days before the 2016 election was directly tied to the Weiner case. What makes Weiner disturbing is the escalation. He went from inappropriate messages with adults to criminal conduct involving a minor. Each scandal should have been a warning. Instead, the behavior worsened until it crossed into predatory territory. Level 5. Dennis Hastert. Dennis Hastert served as Speaker of the House from 1999 to 2007, making him the longest-serving Republican Speaker in American history. He was third in line for the presidency. Before Congress, he taught high school and coached wrestling in Yorkville, Illinois. That coaching position is where the crimes occurred. In 2015, federal prosecutors indicted Hastert for structuring bank withdrawals to evade reporting requirements. He had withdrawn $1.7 million in cash in amounts just below the $10,000 threshold that triggers automatic federal reporting. When FBI agents questioned him, he lied about why. The money was hush payments. Hastert was paying a former student to keep quiet about abuse that occurred decades earlier when the victim was 14 years old. During the investigation and sentencing, multiple victims came forward. Court documents revealed Hastert had abused at least 4 students during his time as a wrestling coach between 1965 and 1981. The abuse occurred in locker rooms, during overnight trips, and in the wrestling room after practice. One victim, identified in court as Individual D, testified that Hastert had performed inappropriate acts on him after wrestling practice. The victim was a high school student. Hastert was his coach and teacher, a trusted authority figure. Another victim, Stephen Reinbold, had told his sister about the abuse before his death from AIDS in 1995. She came forward during the investigation, confirming the pattern of behavior.
When was your first same-sex experience? I mean, he just looked at me and said, it was with Dennis Hastert.
Hastert couldn't be prosecuted for the underlying abuse. The statute of limitations had expired decades earlier. Prosecutors could only charge him with the financial crimes related to covering it up. In April 2016, Hastert pleaded guilty to structuring currency transactions. During sentencing, the judge called him a serial child molester and sentenced him to 15 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release. Hastert also had to register as a sex offender and undergo treatment. Hastert served 13 months before his release in 2017. He now lives as a registered sex offender in Illinois. What makes Hastert disturbing is the position he held while hiding these crimes. He was Speaker of the House, second in line to the presidency after the vice president, while paying millions to cover up child abuse. He shaped national policy while concealing predatory behavior that destroyed lives. Level 6. Ted Kennedy. On July 18, 1969, Senator Ted Kennedy drove his Oldsmobile off Dyke Bridge on Chappaquiddick Island in Massachusetts. His passenger, 28-year-old Mary Jo Kopechny, was trapped inside as the car sank into Poocha Pond. She drowned. Kennedy was leaving a party he had hosted for the Boiler Room Girls, a group of women who had worked on his brother Robert Kennedy's presidential campaign. Kopechny was one of them. Kennedy later claimed he was driving her back to the ferry when he took a wrong turn. The car flipped upside down in the water. Kennedy escaped through the driver's side window and swam to the surface. He later stated he dove repeatedly trying to rescue Kopechny, but couldn't reach her in the dark water. Then he walked away. Kennedy didn't call police. He didn't knock on doors for help. He walked past several houses with lights on and returned to his hotel. He spoke with friends and advisors. Hours passed. The next morning, 2 fishermen discovered the overturned car. Police divers recovered Kopechny's body. She was found in the back seat, positioned in an air pocket. The diver later stated she might have survived for hours breathing that trapped air, waiting for rescue that never came. Kennedy reported the accident to police 10 hours after it occurred, only after the car had already been discovered. He claimed he was in shock and confused. Critics noted he had enough clarity to contact his lawyer and political advisors before contacting authorities. A week later, Kennedy pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of an accident.
He did to plead guilty to the charge of leaving the scene of an accident.
The judge gave him a 2-month suspended sentence. No jail time. Kennedy's license was suspended for 1 year. Questions surrounded the case immediately. Why did Kennedy leave the scene? Was he drunk? How fast was he driving? Why did he wait so long to report it? An inquest was held in 1970, but the proceedings were closed to the public and press. The inquest judge found that Kennedy was driving negligently and that his actions after the accident were inexcusable. But no additional charges were filed. Kennedy remained in the Senate for another 40 years until his death in 2009. Mary Jo Kopechne's parents never spoke publicly in detail about their daughter's death. They accepted a settlement from Kennedy's insurance company. What makes Chappaquiddick disturbing isn't just the accident. It's what Kennedy did afterward. He had hours to get help. Instead, he protected himself while a young woman died in his submerged car. Level 7. Aaron Burr. On July 11, 1804, Vice President Aaron Burr shot and killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel in Weehawken, New Jersey. Burr was serving as Vice President of the United States at the time. Hamilton was the former Secretary of the Treasury and one of the nation's founding fathers. The conflict between them had been building for years. Both were New York politicians with opposing visions for the country. Hamilton was a Federalist who favored a strong central government. Burr was a Democratic Republican who had served as Vice President under Thomas Jefferson since 1801. Their relationship deteriorated completely during the 1804 New York gubernatorial race. Burr ran for governor after Jefferson dropped him from the presidential ticket. Hamilton campaigned against him, making speeches that questioned Burr's character and fitness for office. After Burr lost the election, he learned that Hamilton had called him dangerous and despicable at a private dinner. Burr demanded an apology. Hamilton refused to confirm or deny the specific remarks. The exchange of letters grew increasingly hostile. Burr challenged Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton accepted, despite opposing dueling on moral and religious grounds. His son Philip had died in a duel 3 years earlier at the same location. The two men met at dawn on a ledge above the Hudson River. Each brought a second and a physician. The rules were established. They would stand 10 paces apart, turn, and fire. Accounts differ on what happened next. Some witnesses claimed Hamilton fired first, deliberately shooting into the air or trees above Burr. Others said Hamilton's gun discharged accidentally as he fell. Burr's shot was not a miss.
Present.
The bullet struck Hamilton in the lower abdomen, shattering his rib and lodging in his spine. Hamilton collapsed immediately. His physician rushed to him as Burr briefly approached, then quickly left the scene. Hamilton was carried across the river to a friend's home in Manhattan. He remained conscious for hours, in severe pain, paralyzed from the waist down. He died the next afternoon, July 12, 1804, surrounded by family and clergy. Burr was charged with murder in both New York and New Jersey. He fled to Philadelphia, then to Georgia and South Carolina, avoiding arrest. The charges were eventually dropped, but his political career was destroyed. Burr returned to Washington and finished his term as vice president, even presiding over the Senate. He left office in March 1805 with his reputation in ruins. He later became involved in a conspiracy to create an independent nation in the Western Territories. leading to his arrest for treason in 1807. He was acquitted, but remained a pariah. What makes Burr disturbing is the calculation behind it. He was Vice President of the United States. He killed a founding father over personal grievances and political rivalry. Then he returned to the Senate and continued governing as if nothing had happened. Level 8. Budd Dwyer. On January 22, 1987, Pennsylvania State Treasurer Budd Dwyer called a press conference in the state capitol building in Harrisburg. Reporters and cameramen filled the room, expecting a resignation announcement. Dwyer had been convicted of bribery the previous month and faced sentencing the next day. Instead, Dwyer pulled a .357 Magnum revolver from a manila envelope. Dwyer had served as Pennsylvania State Treasurer since 1981.
Please leave the room at this moment.
In 1986, federal prosecutors charged him with accepting a $300,000 bribe from a California accounting firm called Computer Technology Associates. The firm had been awarded a contract to recover money owed to the state, and prosecutors alleged Dwyer received kickbacks in exchange for steering the contract their way. Dwyer maintained his innocence throughout the trial. He claimed he was being framed by witnesses who were themselves facing charges and had made deals with prosecutors. Despite his protests, a jury convicted him on 11 counts including conspiracy, mail fraud, perjury, and interstate transportation in aid of racketeering. The conviction carried a maximum sentence of 55 years in prison and a $300,000 fine. Dwyer also faced automatic removal from office and the loss of his state pension, which would have left his family with no income. At the press conference, Dwyer stood at a podium and read from a prepared statement for 20 minutes. He proclaimed his innocence and criticized the legal system that convicted him. He said he had been betrayed by the justice system and that his conviction was a miscarriage of justice.
Sentence of 55 years in prison and a $300,000 fine for being innocent.
Then, he reached into the envelope. Reporters and staff immediately recognized the gun. Several people shouted for him to stop. Dwyer told them to stay back, saying, "Please leave the room, if this will affect you."
Don't! This will hurt someone.
Some people rushed toward the door. Others stood frozen. Dwyer placed the barrel of the revolver in his mouth and pulled the trigger. The gunshot was captured on camera by multiple news crews. Blood poured from Dwyer's nose and mouth as he collapsed behind the podium. The room erupted in screams. Cameramen kept filming. Photographers kept shooting. The entire sequence was recorded from multiple angles. Dwyer was pronounced dead at the scene. He was 57 years old.
Got your footage. Would you kindly wrap up your footage? Get your cameras out.
The footage aired on local Pennsylvania news stations that evening. Some stations showed the full sequence, including the moment of the gunshot. Others cut away just before. The graphic nature of the broadcast sparked immediate controversy about media ethics and what should be shown on television. In the years following Dwyer's death, questions emerged about his conviction. William Smith, the key witness against Dwyer, later admitted he had lied under oath. Smith said prosecutors pressured him to implicate Dwyer in exchange for a reduced sentence. Other witnesses also recanted their testimony. In 2010, former U.S. Attorney James West, who prosecuted Dwyer, stated in an interview that he believed Dwyer may have been innocent. West said the case troubled him, and that witness testimony may have been unreliable. Dwyer's widow spent years trying to clear his name, but was unsuccessful. Pennsylvania never overturned the conviction. Dwyer's pension was never restored to his family. What makes Budd Dwyer deserve the #1 spot isn't just that he killed himself. It's that he did it on live television, in front of reporters and cameras, ensuring the moment would be broadcast into homes across Pennsylvania. He turned his death into a public spectacle, forcing viewers to witness his final act of protest against a system he believed had destroyed him. Thanks for watching this video. If you made it to number 1, you're braver than most. Subscribe for more compact, researched deep dives. We cut through the noise to bring you the stories that matter.